Welcome to the Tesla Power Podcast. Here, we explore Tesla solar panels, solar roof, and Powerwall for your home. I'm Aaron Brady, your unofficial Tesla residential energy community organizer. Today, let's talk about extreme cases while in off-grid mode. Let's talk about naming your home energy gateway. Let's talk about Oregon increasing residential solar incentives. And let's talk about solar roofs on public buildings. Let's do it. Right, we will kick it off with community input. You can join the conversation, you can ask some questions, or you can provide some answers by commenting below. You can also call 203-816-5150, or you can email teslapowerpodcast@gmail.com. All right, let's get into our first questions. The first question is from Frosty GT. Frosty GT is commenting on the extreme cases when in off-grid mode. Quote, let's take it full screen. If your production or batteries, let me scroll down to the part where we're... So if production or batteries are full, and you're in off-grid mode, you can't match what you need, it automatically reconnects to grid, end quote. You'll see here at the top. But what I wanted to point out is that this is part of what you can't, get from off-grid mode. What I want to know is what's the difference between this and self-powered mode, if you're going to be reconnected to the grid anyway, right? Anyway, the conversation goes on. Let me bring it full screen again. I would like to know what happens in off-grid mode when your batteries are full and you're still overproducing on solar. Will it just shut solar down, or will it reconnect to the grid and sell the excess? I think the system basically shuts down solar production, end quote. Now, I just can't remember if it's that simple. I mean, even if you throw the breakers, doesn't the electricity from those panels have to go somewhere? You can't just stop it. So I think you have to connect it to ground so that electricity can actually go somewhere. But let's do some experimenting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my mirroring going. Give me a second. Okay, so let me bring that up. So we should be able to see the phone now with the animation going at the home energy gateway. Now, last time I tried to go into off-grid mode, the app wouldn't let me because my batteries were too full. The time before that, it shut off the lights because the transition was so rough. So let's see what happens this time. Do we avoid the light flickering and all that? Or will it even allow us to go into off-grid mode? All that kind of stuff. So let's press that button. So go off-grid. Oh, right. So I'd signed out of the app because I was trying to get... the vehicle portion of it to show our driving score, which isn't great. And maybe I'll share a little bit about that later. So give me a second to pair. Might as well do it now, right? So let me begin pairing. I'm going to go ahead and leave this up. I'm just going to walk over and flip the power switch, which it should ask me to do here in a second. I mean, of course, every time I try to do this on this YouTube thing, it just takes forever. Okay, let me toggle that switch. Remember last time I didn't read all the instructions and I toggled both, and you don't have to do that. You just need to do it once. So I did it for the one, and pairing is successful. I'm clicking OK. And so now, maybe we can go off grid. Let's press that button. Error going off grid. I think it's the time of day I'm doing this. So your system is operating normally, but your system cannot go off grid now because your power wall is still too full. Is it? Yeah, it's at 100%. Okay. All right. So, you know what I'll do? I want to get it in the episode. So, what I'll probably do is I will put it in the next episode, but I'll make sure that I am recording the next episode when I don't have 100% battery. I just forgot that I needed to make sure that that was done. So, what if I try to catch it on video, see what happens, see when we, what happens if we run out of electricity overnight, I should be able to get all of that kind of done at the same time. Maybe what I'll do is I'll record insert videos so that we can put those into this overall programming. So I'm just going to move on. So we'll go to this next bit. So anyway, that's repairing the thing to get it so that I can go back into off-grid mode. I can, honestly, I can tell that I just need to stay in probably self-powered mode until I get more battery capacity. Right now, I mean, I'm hitting 100% all the time, and then I'm draining them, overnight, so I get to 0 every night, and a little lower than 0. So, I need to make sure I'm not filling those batteries too soon, so I have plenty of power on site to keep us going overnight, and so I can do these tests while I'm still, doing these shows. So, let's go on to the next question. Let me get that pulled up full screen. All right, got it. So, going over, this next one's from Brent Smith. He points out that there's more to the new app Home Energy Gateway than I had originally realized. He says, quote, "Thank you for the shout out again. I did know that I had net metering, but have decided to go with self-sufficient mode since Eversource only pays that 7 cents per kilowatt hour sent to the grid. I did want to share something that I stumbled upon by accident with the app. If you tap on the Home Energy Gateway, a screen will come up so that you can name it what you want. As far as being able to compare, the various things against each other, you can click the bar graph icon next to the period in the upper right-hand corner. When it's solid, it'll show all the items together like the old app did. And when it appears broken, it'll only show specific parameters that you've selected. The battery icon on the main app screen does show the battery percentage, which I pointed out a second ago, at least for me in the format X kilowatt at X%, end quote. So let's go back to that app. There's a lot that I didn't realize was interactive in the new app. So let's pull it up. We'll take a closer look. So we should be able to see it here. What I can tell you is what I can see here is that I'm able to click the Home Energy Gateway right here at the top. And I can give it a name. So let's do it, right? First, of course, we want to clear it out. And I have a dumb joke that I always say, that our house is Brady Manor. So we'll put in our home's name, nice and pretentious. Click OK. And I thought I had to go into the energy menu to see any of the additional data, but that's not the case. I can simply click on the animation to drill in. So we've got all of these different parameters right here on the animation. So if I click on the top 3.4 kilowatts on solar roof, it'll take me into solar production, right? That'll, if I click on home in the upper right hand corner, that takes me back to this main home energy usage gateway, and the different sources are going to be overlaid by default. Now that graph button, so if we go back into solar roof and we hit this graph button here and make it solid in the upper right hand corner, I see that the graph icon goes from that broken to solid like Brent pointed out. And when it's solid, we see all 4 data points overlaid into a single thing. I really only see 3 data points here, right? We see where it's charging the battery, where the home is using it, and where it goes out to the grid. So the battery is in green, the home is in blue, and the grid is in gray. If I click it again and it goes dashed, it'll show me only the energy associated with the selected source, meaning I only see production. I don't see where that production has gone. So if I go back to the main animation by hitting the back button, I do see that the battery percentage is right here in the center of the center bottom of the animation, but right in the middle of the screen. I don't know how I was that blind. I didn't see it before. But I'm awful about seeing things that are right in front of my face, especially, when the detail is no longer where I expected to see it. And that's really my problem with change in general, but, personal problem. But, it's there for sure. Obviously, it's there. So if you change the time scale, you'll get a bar graph representation rather than a smooth graph provided when you're looking at a single day. So let's go back into that solar production and let's change from day to month. And that shows us the bar graph representation by day. If we just quickly browse the lifetime stats of the system, we can see, so let's go lifetime, that we've used from home energy usage about 10 megawatt hours, with less than half of it provided by our solar system. Right, which I can show here if I take it off of the dashed and put it on the solid graph. So our total energy consumption, 9.95 megawatt hours. Under half of that has been provided by the battery and solar. So we need a bigger system. I mean, that's the bottom line. The Powerwall stats, if we look at those lifetime stats, we can see we can see the notorious efficiency loss when comparing the energy discharged with the energy we have charged the battery with. So we have charged with 1 megawatt hour. Sorry, we've discharged, 1 megawatt hour, 1.09, but it took us 1.3 megawatt hours to put in that battery to get that back out. And that's just terrible efficiency loss. I mean, I was thinking it would be about 15%. I mean, this is showing a little bit higher at about 25%. Don't forget, we're converting from the solar DC to AC to get through the gateway, back to DC to get it into the battery before converting it yet again to AC so it can be used by the home. So anyway, just another quick tour just to, refresh myself and even get more familiar for myself on what the application is able to do. Brent, thank you for pointing that additional detail out in the app. Huge help. And that does it for comments on this episode. You can get involved too by commenting below. You can call 203-815-5150, or you can email teslapowerpodcast@gmail.com. We'll cover a bit of news right after this. Oregon State is working to increase access to solar for all residential customers. KTVZ News Channel 21 reports, quote, scroll down a bit so we can get to the text. The Oregon public utility issues. I've got the wrong one pulled up. Give me 1 second. Here's Oregon right here. Oregon Public Utility Commission has approved policy changes in the community solar program intended to increase residential and low-income customer enrollments in the program. The community solar program provides customers of Portland, General Electric, that's the utility in the area, Pacific Power, and Idaho Power, serving outside the Portland area. They give them the ability to subscribe to a qualified solar project of their choice and receive a credit on electric utility bills for their portion of the energy generated. It's designed for those customers who lack access to other solar generation programs due to renting in place of owning property, having a shaded roof, being unable to afford the upfront cost of installing a solar energy system, among others, end quote. Now, this wasn't immediately obvious to me. At first, I was like, I'm very interested in how this works for people renting. If they want solar, aren't they going to need to get permission from the owner to install? Aren't they then going to need to either donate the system to the owner? I don't understand how this works. I was also confused by, the note not having a shaded roof. Does this include financing tree removal then? I was trying to make it way more complicated. But I can see that, the whole point of this program isn't that they would install solar and become solar generators and users themselves, just that they could subscribe to a project that had been installed by one of their utilities to make sure that the energy that they were using wasn't coming from a dirty source. It would come from one of these solar projects that had been funded by the state. So that not just gives them the opportunity to consume clean energy, but it also gives them the incentive as if they had generated that electricity themselves. So an interesting way to get around the whole inability to be able to install solar for yourself, or the inability to generate enough solar to cover your own electricity needs, still kind of giving you that benefit through one of the public works projects. And that, I got to admit, that was really confusing to me when I was first reading through, what the incentives programs meant. But that's great news for you if you aren't somebody who can buy a solar roof or can't buy solar or a battery to get around time of use charges. So something to look out for, something I wanted to make sure that I was pointing out for the community. All right, next up, we have the original story that I had up here. So we have a cool little story. It's a little project in Buffalo, New York, home of the Tesla Gigafactory, where these solar roofs are made in the first place. I found an Australian publication that had a public article, onestepoffthegrid.com, and they cover a tweet from Tesla, quote, scroll down just a little bit. It's going to be a little bit after here. I forget where I picked it up exactly. The solar roof tiles which were donated, let me see. Oh, here, the second paragraph. The solar roof tiles which were donated for a project at a cost that sources have estimated at around $150,000 cover the Carousel's entire two-tiered octagonal roof. It houses the newly restored 1924 Spillman Engineering Park-style Carousel. End quote. And they posted a video. It shows how good the restoration looks and how well the solar roof fits into the aesthetic. Let's pull that up really quickly so we can play it. I'm not sure we'll get any sound out of it. I don't think there was any sound anyway, but if I can get it full screen. It really looks great, I gotta say. I think it fits the aesthetic very well. And in general, just a nice thing to see that this is being done for a public project, specifically. But I have all the usual questions. How much electricity does the system generate? They don't cover that in the article. How much of the Carousel's power usage will be covered by the system? Are there going to be any batteries in the installation? So if any viewers here have further detail, let us know in the comments below. I'd really love to cover more of the detail in this project. And that's it for the news. In fact, that's it for episode 24 of the Tesla Power Podcast. I'm your Tesla residential energy community organizer, Aaron Brady, and let's do this again in the next video.